Hello my lovely ladies, welcome back to the channel, and welcome if this is your first time joining us. I'm so happy that you're here because today we are going to be talking about the top 10 things that I had to stop doing once I decided I was going to start dating for marriage. Now this is something that I get questions a lot about, so I just want to address it in this video so you ladies can see if you're doing some of these things, and I can just tell you right here with all of these things, I was doing them and I had to stop them immediately, so then that way I can really date for marriage. I can really see what is out there for me. So definitely have your pen and paper because I got some notes and you know how it goes around here. So let's just get into it. So the first thing that I had to stop doing, actually it's not even the first or last or anything like that, because as you know, I never put things in like order. It's just I'm putting it out there. But the first thing I want to talk about, which actually ended up being the first thing that I actually did have to stop doing, I needed to stop holding on to past failed relationships and the negative feeling and stories that I had about them. Now, this is something that I am all too familiar with, and I'm sure some of you ladies have experienced the same things as I have, whether it be, cheating or a person lying to you, or, things not just working out the way that you thought they would, right? And then you end up feeling like really bad about yourself, bad about the relationship. You feel like you've wasted your time. You feel like just super negative, and you start telling your friends about it. You tell your family about it. You may tell random people at the bar about it, right? You just have all of this negative emotion inside of you, and you just want to put it out there because you feel hurt by your past, right? Your past relationships and what they've done to you. And I did this. And it wasn't until one day after I finished having brunch with some friends and some new people that I met and stuff, and it was a group of us girls, and the guys were kind of having their own conversation and the girls were having a conversation, and all the girls were talking about were men, right? We were talking about our past relationships or our current relationships and what was going wrong and what was happening. And I was just, telling them what happened to me and the negative experience that I had and how this person was dating someone else and they did this and they did that. And I, was in that energy. And when I got back home, I was like, I'm actually so tired of telling that negative story. I'm actually tired of it. And once I realized I was tired of that negative story, that's when I changed things. And I decided I wasn't going to tell that story about this man anymore, because in reality, yes, he did do something bad, but he did a lot of good things for me too. And if I was just going to talk about the negative, then that's all that I'm recognizing, right? That's all that I'm seeing in that relationship, when that was not true. I had a lot of great experiences with that relationship. It just didn't work out, and that's okay. And I decided from that moment that I was never going to tell negative stories about my past relationships again, because I didn't want to experience that. And instead, I was going to tell positive stories about my relationships, and I was going to say all the good things that I experienced with them and all the good things that I've learned from them, because those things are the things that I wanted to continue to happen in my life and not the negative things. So remember, we're all going through these emotions, but it's about time that you catch yourself and you realize the story that I'm telling is the story I'm giving energy to, and the things I give energy to are the things that's going to manifest. So do I want to manifest more heartbreak, more hurt, more disrespect, or more whatever your negative emotion is about this person from your past, or do you want the good things to happen? So focus on the good things. And that is not a way to romanticize the relationship you just left and make you feel like you want to go back to them, because I do not believe in moving backwards at all. Once a person's out of my life, I'm pretty much done with them, and I send them off with love. And that's exactly what I did. I stopped telling the negative story. I thanked them for their service, all the great things they've done for me, and I just moved on with my life. And that was something that I definitely had to do once I decided I was dating for real and dating for marriage. So remember that. So another thing that I had to do, which was equally as important as the first thing, was I needed to stop letting Prince Charmings take a top spot in my roster. Now, if some of you ladies may not know who is Prince Charming, now I call Prince Charming, you know, that bachelor type of guy, right? He has a great job, he has great energy, he's, you know, somewhat good looking, he's just like fun to be around and younger, or just kind of like a young energy. And he's not necessarily going to, you know, be locked down. He's not necessarily interested in getting married right now. He may do a long-term relationship, but he's not like serious. He's in his bachelor mode. He has money, he has a nice place, he has all the toys, he's gonna take you on the trips, he's gonna do all of those things except marry you. And these kind of guys filled up my life. You know, I thought they were the best guys because they had the most money, they had the most experience, they had just like fun. And at that point in my life, when I was in my 20s, I was looking for fun. I was looking for, you know, experiences. So those kind of guys were there, but they weren't guys that I could marry. They weren't guys who were ready to have a wife, to have a family, to go in that part of their life. They were all about girlfriends, right? Live-in girlfriends. They can take care of you. They can do all the nice things for you, but they weren't necessarily men to marry. And this is something that I see a lot of women struggle with, letting these types of guys go, because in essence you can see their potential. You can see, okay, he's a great provider, right? He has the money, he has a profession, he's a great guy, he's cool, he's everything, but he's not at the point of his life where he's ready to be married. And a lot of women will sit around and wait for this guy, right? They'll get into these long-term relationships with these guys and hope and wish that eventually he will choose her and he will marry her. And unfortunately, that doesn't always happen. Sometimes it does, 5-10 years down the line or whatever. I just knew at this point in my life, I was not ready to wait for that, and I was not interested in that. So I had to look at my roster and see, these type of guys do not take priority. Now, I did not cut them off completely, no, because, you know, I still wanted to have options, but I did not make them a priority. So I wouldn't rather go out with them instead of someone else that I thought was either new or someone that I thought, you know, wanted the same thing as me. So they definitely took like a backseat to the guys that I was dating around that time, and I just didn't give them priority the way that I used to give them a priority. Because for me, especially in my 20s when I was dating, priority meant you know, you really liked me, you had the money, you had the experiences to give, to share, you like to buy me stuff, you like to like hang out, like those things were, you know, would push you to the top of the list, right? That would make me want to be with you, and then eventually I would get in a relationship with those kind of guys. So yes, avoid the Prince Charmings if you want to date for marriage. If you're just dating, then yeah, these guys are great to date with, so you can learn from the relationships. And I did learn a lot from dating these kind of guys, but once I was done learning from them, I had to move on to the next step, and that was dating men who are in their king energy, not in their prince energy. So yes, please ladies, if you are dating these type of guys, you know, I'm not saying you need to cut them off. I would just say, do not prioritize them and start looking to men who actually have the king energy and want to settle down and get married. Another big thing that I needed to stop doing once I was dating for marriage was I needed to stop being flaky. Now, this is something that I don't know if everybody's like this, but I was definitely like this in dating. I just was not a serious person. I can make plans with you and then last minute cancel with you. I can tell you I'm gonna go do something with you and then not want to go do it, and I'm not going to do it. And that was just kind of my energy. I never gave anyone so much of me where I was like really going to be serious with them, unless it involved like money or, you know, something like that, where I felt like, okay. But for me with men, it was just kind of like, if I don't want to hang out with you, I'm not going to hang out with you. You know, I don't care about your time in that kind of way. You know, it wasn't respectful. I can definitely say that was pretty disrespectful of me to not prioritize other people the way they prioritize me, but it was just the energy that I was in. So I really took advantage of people's time. And I knew that I could not do that anymore. Like, I remember, like, a person that I was dating at the time had an event that he was having, and his friends were going to be there, and he wanted me to meet his friends. And, like, last minute, like a day before, I was like, oh, I'm not going to go. I have to go do something else. And I didn't need to do something else. I just didn't want to go. And he was so sad about it, and he was so mad about it, and I just, like, did not care. And then he tried to reschedule it, and I was just like, whatever. Let's hang out. And then, like, I actually just, like, told him, like, we'll think about it. And then I think, like, 2 days later, I just randomly hit him up and I was like, let's hang out today. You know, like, I would do stuff like that. I was definitely just very inconsistent, very flaky. I mean, it does work if you're, like, playing that type of game of just being unavailable. And, you know, obviously that's a little more toxic, but I had to stop being like that. It actually wasn't until that person started to be like that towards me, and then ended up, like, being with someone else because of that, that I realized, like, oh my gosh, I was pushing this person away the whole time, that I was just being inconsistent and just not caring about their time and their energy. And then they just found someone else. And that was a big, huge eye opener for me, because I was like, I need to be serious. Like, I need to stay in contact with people. I need to keep my commitments with people. I have to show that I'm interested, because if I really want to date for marriage, they're going to want someone there all the time, someone they can depend on. And I just was not that. So I had to fix that about myself. So if you're doing the same thing that I was doing, I highly suggest that you stop doing that and, you know, start getting serious and respecting people's time and their energy and effort. Another huge thing that I needed to stop doing was I needed to stop being scared to ask for what I wanted in a relationship. Now, I had no problem asking for gifts or money or trips or, you know, experiences. That was fine. That was easy for me. But when it came down to what I wanted in a relationship, I was petrified to talk about what I was feeling and where I saw this relationship going. I was definitely not vulnerable in my relationships. And this is something I talked to you ladies lengthily about in my, you know, previous videos on my live. I spoke about it as well, is your vulnerability. And as you go through relationships and friendships and all that stuff, we tend to hold our vulnerability in. We don't want to let it out anymore because we don't want to risk the chance of getting hurt. But actuality, you actually put a wall between yourself and the person, and they actually don't end up knowing what you're feeling. And that can be detrimental to your relationship, honestly, because I remember I would be hanging out with my boyfriend, and I would be coming home very upset, and my sister would be like, you know, what's wrong? Why are you upset? And it was because, like, I was feeling all of these things and I wasn't saying it. And she was like, okay, well, next time you see him, you need to tell him what you're feeling. And then I would see him again the next day, and it would be the same thing. I would come home upset, and she was like, did you tell him? And I'm like, no, I didn't tell him. I don't want to tell him because I don't want to have that awkward conversation. I don't want to be like that. And so, you know, I would hold these things in, or I would, like, stop talking to a person and they would not know why I stopped talking to them, right? I just was like, you know what? I'm done. Just done. And then they were like, I thought we had a great connection. I thought everything was good. Like, you know, what happened? And I just, you know, gone, disappeared, no explanation, because I just didn't want to confront that emotion. I didn't want to talk about it. I didn't believe that it needed to be discussed because I was already hurt, right? So I really had to dig deep on this one because I needed to put my walls down and actually express myself for what I wanted in a relationship and what I feel like I was getting, because I didn't feel good about this. Again, like I told you ladies, I was dating Prince Charmings. I was dating these ultimate bachelors, you know, and I didn't want to ruin that. I didn't want to let go of the life. I didn't want to let go of the gifts and the trips and the money and all that stuff. I just was like, if I just take it, you know, it'll work itself out. And that's not what happened, right? So it wasn't until I decided I was going to start speaking up for myself and asking for what I wanted out of the relationship. So that's something that was really important, and actually a very pivotal part of me actually getting married was having these types of conversation. And I remember even with my husband, like in the beginning of our relationship, there were times where, you know, we would have an issue and I would feel it inside, and I would be hurt or something like that. And then I just decided, I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it to him. I'm going to give him this hurt. This is his problem and he needs to deal with it, not me. So I opened up and I told him what happened, and, you know, he had to deal with it, not me. I was not going to hold on to that anymore. And it was freeing. It was actually great because he was able to address it and fix it. Obviously, we're married, but this is something that I learned before I got married, and something that I practiced in my relationship before we actually did get married. So definitely important. So the next thing that I had to stop doing, and this is something that I do see a lot of other women doing, and for me, I knew I needed to stop doing this, and that was to stop making men more important in my life than they were. And what do I mean by that? So when I was dating, and this is not something I necessarily did a lot, it would just be like certain guys that I felt like, you know, could be, I would be like, oh, that's my man. Oh, he's the one, you know, giving him the title in my mind, right? Before he actually did anything or committed or did anything. And, or even if he was like committed, just calling him my man, I didn't want to do that anymore. And I stopped doing that completely. I didn't even like when me and my husband were just dating, then like my sister would be like, oh yeah, your man, such and such or whatever. And like she would like refer to him as my man. And I was like, well, he's not my man, right? Because we're not married. We're not anything, you know, legally together. So he's not mine. Because I don't know. We don't know how this is going to turn out. You know, he could be great now, but if he doesn't, you know, end up going all the way, then he's not my man. So I really stopped giving these guys titles that were of great significance, and they haven't showed up. Now, you know, my husband at the time, he did show up, but I was so weary of that, because so a lot of guys that I would date, they would be like, oh yeah, like you're my girlfriend, right? And they would tell other people that I was their girlfriend, and they would act like I was their girlfriend, but they didn't necessarily give me the energy to feel comfortable with me calling them my boyfriend, right? And they would just like give me this title because they felt like I would be appreciative of it. And so I really, you know, took that into account, and I was like, I'm not going to give anybody any title, not my man, not my boyfriend, not anything, until they actually show up for me in the way I wanted. And that was to be engaged to me, right? To, you know, make the ultimate commitment in front of our friends and family and the law, right? So I was very mindful of that, and I do believe that did help me, because I didn't waver from that. I knew what I wanted, and I stood strong in that, and I let it be known, like, you're not mine until you're really mine. So that means I'm not yours until you're really, until I'm really yours. So it's up to you to lock it down, and it's up to you to, you know, do the things that needs to be done if you really want to be with me. So that's something that is very important, that I suggest you ladies stop saying like, my man, my man, my man, my man. It's not cute if he's not your man, because the only way he actually is your man is if you're married. Like, let's be real. And people say it with boyfriends and then, you know, end up single again. So I definitely was not giving any man that kind of title unless I was married to him. Another thing to go with that is I wasn't telling people about him. I wasn't, you know, telling people like, oh, my man this, my man that. I was keeping my mouth shut. I was not saying anything. I did not want people to be like, oh, well, what happened with your guy if it didn't work out, right? I just wanted it to be clear from the beginning. I was dating. I was, you know, doing my thing. I didn't want to lock down until he actually locked me down, you know, through engagement and marriage and stuff like that. So, yeah, I wasn't bragging. I wasn't trying to tell people. I came out publicly with my husband once we were engaged. And that was when I knew, like, okay, he's going to be someone in my life. We're actually engaged. We have a date to be married. Now I can introduce him to people. I can show him my family, you know, so they can get to know him before the marriage and all that stuff. So that is actually when I started introducing him to my people. So, and actually, well, he did meet my mom and my sister and stuff like that, because he did ask my mom for my hand in marriage, which I thought was like So sweet. But yes, but before that, like my extended family, he did not meet any of them until we were engaged. Another thing that you ladies may have to stop doing, and this I'm saying you because I never really did this, but I know this is so common and so many people do it, especially when they're looking for someone to be with and they have their list and they put like things that do not matter, and they would always put these things on the list. And I tell you ladies all the time, these things do not matter. So please stop judging men on things that don't matter, like the way they dress, like the how tall they are, like if they're extremely good looking, like if their personality type, if they're introverted or extroverted. Like those kind of things do not matter in dating for marriage, because I honestly never, and I'm telling you ladies, never cared about a guy's height. This is not something that I even thought of until recently, when a lot of people were saying like, oh, he has to be this feet tall, he has to be this tall, and I'm just like, I never cared about a person's height. I'm not very tall. I'm about 5'3.5", so I'm not very tall at all. I'm actually the tallest girl in my family, so that goes to show you we're pretty short over here. My husband's about 6 feet, but before my husband, I mean I've dated shorter guys who were taller than me, but like under 6 feet shorter, and I didn't really care because that wasn't a priority to me. I had other priorities. I'm not saying they were better, but they weren't about the height, they weren't about the looks, they weren't about the clothes that he was wearing. Like some people were like, I don't like the way he dresses. Like, girl, you can change that later on down the line. He doesn't need to be like the best dressed person. Like that's not important. Like we need to look at his values. And if his values is in the way he dresses, then is he the right guy to be with? I don't think so, right? So you need to be mindful of like what you're actually judging the person on. And if it's not their values, if it's not, their careers, their family, their way of being, their communication, how they feel about you, how they treat you, those are the things that you can judge a person on. But when it comes to like looks and dressing and height and even personality, because I know some people is like, oh well, he's boring, and it's like, okay, well, are you boring? Like, does it not match up? Like, is he not talkative? Does he not like you? Like, what is it? And it's like, no, he likes me and stuff like that, but it's just like he's a little boring. And it's like, well, okay, well, what does he like to do? And it's like, oh well, he likes to read. And it's like, if he's like more introverted and likes to do like more like quiet things or more calm things, but he's okay with you being turned up and hanging out and stuff like that, is it really important for you to like try to change him and try to get with someone who's equally as you? Like, to me and my husband do not have the same personality, like at all. At all. We do like similar things, we definitely do, but we have different personalities, and that's okay. It actually works, because where he lacks, I'm good at. Where he's good at, I lack at it. So we balance each other out, even with our personalities, even with talking to people, and even just doing day-to-day things. So I really don't see that as a negative, the way that people talk about like personality so much. And it's like everybody has their own type of personality. As long as they like you and they're good to you and they treat you well and they have great values and they're a supportive, great husband, I really don't see like why a personality like he likes to stay home and read books is a big deal. Like, I mean, even my in-laws, like my father-in-law loves to be at the beach and hang out all day, and my mother-in-law is not that type of person, but she will love to go to dinners and lunches and go shopping and stuff, and that's what we do together, right? And then I see my father-in-law, when me and my husband go bike riding along the beach, he's like always at the beach. So it's like they don't do it together because they have different type of personalities, and that's fine. So you need to accept those kind of things, because if not talking to a person because they're this tall or because they dress like this or because their personality is like this, then that's not necessarily going to get you what you want. I mean, everybody loves to talk about like narcissists and all that stuff, and honestly, like, just to talk about that for a quick second, like, people say, like, in my comments sometimes, like, the advice that I give might attract narcissists. I honestly don't care about narcissists. It's not that important to me, because I'm not a victim to anybody. Like if anybody tries something on me, I usually can see it. But if you are a person that, you know, has been traumatized by narcissists or a victim to narcissists, then I can understand, you know, you may have an eye for that, but I definitely don't have an eye for that. So I don't think I attract narcissists. And if a person was a narcissist, I mean, I would realize it, and I would probably, you know, be one back to them or joke on them or call them out or something like that. Like, I'm not afraid of narcissists. So I think everybody has a bit of narcissism in them. So I'm not afraid of narcissists. And, you know, I accept them too, because I already know the game. So it's not that big of a deal. But if you do have a problem with that, then, you know, address that the way you feel you need to. But for me, I mean, it's not even a deal breaker for me, because I'll just call you out. Like, if you're trying anything that I feel like you're trying me with, I'm gonna call you out. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that. So another thing that I had to stop doing when I started dating for marriage is I had to stop trying to fit into a mode of what I think the guy wanted from me. And I just needed to be my best self. That was all I needed to do, because so many people, I mean, including me, sometimes you ladies, you know, get information from me and then you tell me, well, this person is like this and, you know, they got a man and stuff like that. And that's great. That's fine. And if that's what you want to do, then go and do it. And I'm just giving advice about how to level yourself up and be your best self and attract the best thing for you and what you would want. So you don't have to like follow my mode. You don't have to be like me, wear your hair like me, dress the same way I do, speak the same way I do, have the same type of husband I do. You definitely don't need to do that. And I knew this about myself when I was dating. It's like, I'm not going to fit into this mode of who people thought I should be, because I never did, right? People look at me and they're like, oh, like, you know, just like a Black American woman, right? And it's like, well, I'm actually first generation American and I'm Haitian and I speak like 3 different languages, and I actually grew up in a whole different type of mindset and culture than most typical Black Americans. So I have a completely different way of presenting, being, speaking, and all that stuff. Not to say, you know, the Black American way is wrong or my way is better or anything like that, but I'm just saying I am not fitting into that mode, and that's perfectly fine. And I don't think anybody needs to for anything, right? I think you need to just be your best self. And if you focus on being your best self, then you don't have to be like anybody else, because you're the best you can ever be. So I would definitely say, you know, focus on that. Focus on being your best self. Focus on leveling yourself up, whatever that means for you. And me being honest with myself was the best thing, is saying, I'm not her. I'm not his past. I'm not the person who he even thinks I am. I'm me. And I'm going to come in as me. I'm going to, you know, live my life as me. And that's just what I'm going to do. And I'm going to be the best me, right? I'm not going to give him the least me. I'm not going to give him the lower me, the negative me, or the me that doesn't put in any effort. I'm going to give him the absolute best of me. And that is what I'm going to present. And that's how it worked out for me, because I was showing up as my best self and not just this idea of who I was supposed to be. So yeah, just take that into account while you're dating, if you're actually trying to fit into a mold or you're actually being who you are. To tie into that, this next thing that I stopped doing was I stopped trying to be in the scene, right? I stopped trying to be in all the cool places, in clout trace, and, you know, be in this kind of energy. And I got off social media. I had Instagram. I was pretty popular there, and I got off there. I stopped trying to be that girl who was everywhere, be the it girl, you know everything, be at all the cool clubs and all the cool places. I just was like, I don't want to do that anymore. I just want to be authentic. I just want to be authentically me. And that's what I decided to do, especially when I was dating for marriage, is I was like, okay, do I actually enjoy this kind of scene? And what I mean by this, because I live in LA, right? So you have Hollywood, and that kind of like atmosphere is like a beast in its own, because it's so easy to get caught up in it. It's so easy to just kind of think like, this is where I need to be. You get like kind of FOMO if you're not there. And that's what would happen to me. I would like be in the scene. I would need to know the people. I wanted to be popular. I wanted to be known and all that stuff. And then once I decided, like, I don't actually care about this. None of this stuff is beneficial to me. And I like the life that I created after that. I started doing things that was authentic to me. I started actually having fun with my life and not just trying to chase something, trying to chase clout, trying to chase the scene and try to look a certain way and be a certain way. I was just accepting me and my best self and doing things that I actually found joy in and happiness in and felt healthy doing. And once I did that, so many things opened up for me. But it's so crazy because me and my husband connect so much by those things, those authentic things that I like to do. He actually really enjoys doing that as well. And we connect so much because of it. And we talked about this a little bit because he did the same thing, you know, growing up. He's from Los Angeles, and so he knows all about the scene, right? And he knew all about that. And growing up, he was so excited about it and was about it. And then as he grew up and he started moving away from that, he started realizing, like, this isn't necessarily what's going to get me far in life. So why do I care about being, you know, in the hottest club and having a table and popping bottles? Like, you know, what kind of life is that? And we came to each other at the perfect time because we were done with that by the time we were together, and it was amazing. So I definitely think being your authentic self and not trying to chase a scene or trying to chase a mold or try to be somebody is the best thing to do, especially when you're dating for marriage, because then you're going to come up as authentic, then you're going to come up as your best self. And that's the key, right? That's the best way to be when you're looking for someone, so they can identify that in you and they can love you like who you truly are. Another thing that I needed to stop doing, and that I actually did with my husband, is I needed to stop giving up on men. Now, this is something that I would do a lot. As soon as a guy made a mistake or something that I didn't like, you're done. You're done for. And like I said, I wasn't vocal about this. I didn't let them know, like, this is something that you did, right? I would just be like, ghost. I would ghost people. I'm like the queen of ghosting. I just was like, oh, I'm done. Don't want to talk about it. Don't want to see you again. It's done. And it wasn't until I got with my husband that I was like, I'm going to allow him to fix it. I'm going to tell him what's wrong, and I'm going to allow him to fix it. And he did. Right? Once I opened up and I told people what was wrong, they then had the power to fix it. And I did not let men make mistakes. And I know a lot of women do not let men make mistakes. I mean, if he doesn't pick the right restaurant, you're done with him. If he doesn't, you know, say the right things, if he doesn't bring you flowers, if he doesn't, you know, do X, Y, and Z, if he doesn't dress the right way, if he doesn't do this, and you're just done with him. And I get it. I was there. But I'm going to tell you something. Those little things that you think are so important, I promise you, they are not important. It's okay if he didn't bring you flowers, right? It's okay, because the guys who did in the past, where are they? They're not here. He has so much time to buy you flowers. It's okay that he didn't do it today. It's okay that, you know, he brought you to the wrong restaurant, right? It's okay. He can take you to another better restaurant. It's okay that he wore sneakers to this restaurant and now he looks really casual and you're dressed up. He can try again, right? You can address these types of things and he can fix it. You just have to give him the opportunity to do that. Like I said, I was definitely that person who would be like, oh no, definitely not. The only thing, honestly, that I would say that I don't give people the opportunity, and I wouldn't give anybody the opportunity, even my husband, is, you know, with cheating or anything like that, is like, yeah, it's done for me, because I can't with the disrespect at that point. But if it's like innocent and, you know, it's by accident or it's just something you're learning about a person, then allow them the opportunity to fix it. I promise you it'll be okay. So this is the final thing that I want to mention here in this video about what I stopped doing once I decided I was going to start dating for marriage. And that was to stop thinking the grass was greener. Now, this is something that I did all the time. I mean, I talk to you ladies about it all the time. Like, you can always get a better man. You can always get a better job. You can always get a better house. You can always get a better shoes, whatever the situation may be. You can always do better. But I did that to such extremes that I actually did not commit to people. I did not hold on to people who are good people because I just was going after what's better, what's better, what's better. I want better, I want better, I want better. And once I stopped doing that, once I just accepted what I had right here and allowed it to grow, that's when things actually started to change because I was no longer looking to the next green thing. I was accepting what I had. And, you know, honestly, because I'm being honest with you ladies, is like, this was something I actually had to work on a lot. I mean, with my husband, I had to like keep on having these conversations with my sister about things that I just felt like, am I making the right decision? Is this the best thing for me? And obviously, I think everybody should be doing that. You should always be questioning, especially something so serious like marriage. Is this the right thing for you? And I had to think like that. I had to really put myself in the mindset like, this is the person I'm going to commit to. This is the person I'm going to be with for the rest of my life. This is the person that I love and I want a future with for real. I am not going to look to the grass is greener. I'm not going to look to see if there's something better. This is better for me. This is the best for me. And I had to trust that this was the best for me, that there wasn't better, that this is the best. And I accept that. And I think this is something that a lot of people do. This is something that men do a lot, but I know women do it. And I know for sure that I did it, is I had to accept that this was the best. There wasn't better. And even if there is better, I don't care because I have the best. And that's okay. So that is exactly what I did. And I really love that I did that because I have no regrets. I have no desire in me to look outside my marriage or to look to anybody else's marriage or relationship and say, oh my God, that's so much better than mine. I don't think that at all because I know that this is what is best for me. And that's because I accepted this is my choice and this is the best choice for me. And it's been great. It's been the best choice that I've ever made in my whole entire life. And I'm so happy I did it because I definitely lived a life without making like permanent decisions. The biggest permanent decision I made in my life was having a tattoo that I actually don't care to have anymore. I mean, I don't hate my tattoo, but like, I don't care to have it anymore. But that's the biggest permanent decision I've ever made, right? Like moving to Los Angeles, I can move back. That's not a permanent decision. Being in relationships, you know, got out of them, not a permanent decision. Never had a baby, never like did anything that was like permanent. And getting married was like a huge, big permanent for me. And it was scary. And it was something that I had to talk myself into realizing like, you can do this. This is the right choice for you. This is the best decision. There is no grass is greener. This is the greenest grass. And I love that I did that. I love that I went through that. And it really just changed everything for me. So I hope this whole list, this whole thing helped you ladies. If there's more things that you may think that, you know, you had to stop doing, just please leave the comments down below. Ask me any question that you want down below. That would be great as well. Thank you so much to the ladies who came to the live that we had, that goddess check-in. So much fun. I definitely want to do it again. So let me know in the comments if we should do it again, what the topic should be. I love doing lives with you, so that way we can just communicate and like type back and forth together. That was just like really fun, just talking back and forth together. So yeah, definitely let me know in the comments. Also, just like the video for me, subscribe to the channel, of course, and I will see you in the next one. All right, bye.